Welcome to the Running Network Show. Join us each time as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great sport.
I've known Larry forever, and a fellow New York AEC person. And
it was the first thing I ever did, Gary. I did it by accident. It's really a crazy story. I had competed in the Marine Corps and was out of the Corps and was working in finance in Boston. Went to the finish line of the Boston Marathon. And they were talking about the leader, and they had nothing right in the race back in the mid-'70s. His name was Neil Cusack. And I just knew about his background. So long story short, I'm waiting for some friends at the finish line. They had a roped-off area with yellow tape around it, and there was a studio engineer and a commentator. And I see the commentator put the microphone down. And I said to myself, I wonder if he has the same wrong information that the other radio stations I listened to, 3 of them, driving to the finish line had. So I went over, I ducked under the yellow tape, he went to commercial, and I said, excuse me, what do you have in the leader, Neil Cusack? And he said, well, he's a student at the University of Tennessee. That's what the other stations were all saying. And so I said, actually, he goes to East Tennessee State in Johnson City, not the university in Knoxville. He's overaged by a couple of years. He's a very accomplished runner. He's the national collegiate champion this year in cross country, and he's not an American. He's from Ireland. And the guy looked at me like I had 5 heads. And he started quizzing me like crazy, and I'm just hitting the ping pong ball back to him, like, how do you know this? Where are you from? What do you know, and asking the right questions. In other words, am I really telling him the truth? And he doesn't know, and who am I? And so the guy says to him, you're on the air in 10 seconds. And he looks at me and he says, what's your name? And I said, Larry Rawson. And he said, we're here with Larry Rawson. Tell us about the leader, Neil Cusack.
that is awesome. I love it. And what year was that?
1974.
That is awesome. And then you've been commentating ever since?
Yes, that actually started everything. One thing led to another, to another, to another. Public Broadcasting invited me to do commentary on a track show that they were putting on the air nationally, and Bud Collins, the tennis commentator, hosted it. I did the color commentary. They gave me a copy of it. ESPN was born 2 years later. I didn't know a soul. I sent them a reel of the tape. They called me up 6 months later and said, we like what you did. We'd like you to do our 3 TV shows in 1980, or I think it was 80 or 81. And that started my career with ESPN. And 2 months ago, they offered me another contract still. So. Awesome.
Now, how many marathons did you run in your life?
I never ran one.
Oh, no,
and while I was a distance runner, I ran seriously. But I'm a kind of a big guy at 6 feet, 160 pounds is what I ran in the Marine Corps. And I was on the Marine team and did compete internationally. But it's not like I'm a light guy, you know, and weight plays a factor. And I had trained very hard for 7 years, and I was involved in finance, and I just figured a lot of time commitment. There was no Nike saying, you're good enough to be on our team. And I was back in New England weather, which was really tough. And there was no Bill Rogers there and no Greater Boston Track Club at the time. So I just decided to run for fun, and the career went away, and I was happy. It was a part of my life. I still retain the love of the sport, but I moved on to do other things.
Well, that's awesome, and we do enjoy your commentary. You do great. And one other question is, I always see you studying athletes. How much time do you put in studying, like a race like this, all the athletes, and know what to say about them during the race? How much time do you think you put in?
You know, nobody ever asked me. That's a good question, Gary.
There's a lot to go into it.
In a marathon, there's tons of preparation to do. My fear always is, and it's never changed over these 40 years doing Boston, is that somebody will take a lead, it could be a Kenyan or somebody that you don't know well, and maybe push the pace for 45 minutes, and he's your leader, and what can you educate people and keep their interest up? Some of the stories from Kenya and Ethiopia are very slim, meaning I was from my father was a farmer. I helped out there. I went to school. I had ability. I started to run, and 5 years later, here I am in Boston. But you've got to dig and find better stuff. And to what George Hirsch said a little while ago, you try and find the stuff that is not well known. You try and create the wows. You try and draw parallels that shock people or find very interesting. And that's what I'm all about. It's not about me. It's about making the athletes look good and be appreciated for all they've achieved.
Well, that's true, and like I said, there's a lot to definitely know about athletes, and you got to dig for it, though. Definitely.
You certainly do, and I try and do that all the time. To answer your question, you spend at least easily 20 to 25 hours ahead of time of Googling stuff, interviewing coaches, interviewing the agents frequently know a lot of the backstories. And you have to run down the whole list of the elites that you know will be up in the lead pack for both men and for women. And you got to be up in the wheelchair stuff. What does the chairs weigh? What's changed? Who does well on what type of course? What are they wearing and what are their styles? Because they're frequently hunched over. And all of a sudden, we don't have a tracking device to know who's in the lead. And somebody might say to you on radio or television, here comes the lead wheelchair. It's like, oh my God, who is this? And your heart's in your mouth. And yet you're expected to be able to transmit just how great they are to everybody, and you're not even sure who's got the lead.
That's true, yeah.
So there's all these little sidebars that go on.
Well, I've learned a lot just watching you, and you've been great for the sport, and we look forward to Sunday's coverage.
Great to be with you, and congratulations on being an Olympian.
Thank you.
All those years ago. Congratulations.
Well, I'm doing number 16 New York City Marathon, so I'm just here for the long haul.
We wish you the best, Gary.
Thank you.